guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled The Karenest Karen I've Ever Been Karened By. So I worked at a restaurant per bar as a host, my first job for about 2 years, and during that time I saw my fair share of beggars and Karens, but one instance particularly stands out in my memory. Typical night shift, busy around dinner time and gradually slows down. Around the time that it's starting to get late and the restaurant is slowly becoming quieter. Now being a host, I never dealt with any of the dine-in customers, only takeouts and phone orders. So this woman comes in the front door with her probably 8 to 9-year-old daughter, and the second she does, I immediately thought, oh duck, here we go. As she had the full, stereotypical Karen look. The haircut, soccer mom capri pants, expensive sunglasses, the whole shebang. She walked up and of course I greeted her with a friendly smile, to which she replied that she was there to pick up a takeout order. I pulled up her order to take her payment, and it was a pretty hefty order, around $150 to $200 if I remember correctly. She tells me she has a coupon, which is usually a lifesaver because it makes the process so much faster. So I take the coupon from her and take a look at it. It was for something like a free kids meal, but I quickly noticed that the coupon had in a large, bolded red font dead center on the front, dine in only. I hand Karen back her couple and as politely as I can tell her I'm unable to accept this coupon since it only applied to dine-in meals. Karen did not like that. Not at all. She proceeded correct me and tell me that the coupon was, in fact, valid, because I was a 16-year-old working at minimum wage. Obviously I have no clue what I'm talking about, right? I explained to her again that the coupon could only be applied to dine-in orders, and even added that I would be happy to seat her and plate her, still hot and fresh, food to enjoy in the restaurant so she would be able to use the coupon. I had to physically point to the dine-in only lettering multiple times as I attempted to explain that I physically have no way of entering the coupon since it was for dine-in only. Then she asks for the manager, whoa, huge surprise. So I go get my manager, and quickly explain the situation. Then he follows me to the front and asks how he can help Karen. So, this entitled, privileged, genuinely stupid idiot proceeds to rant to my manager for about 15 minutes about how stupid, lazy, and useless of an employee I am. This whole time she is going off screaming about how she's used those coupons for takeout in the past, and how I should be fired for being such a terrible employee. They shouldn't be hiring young brats like me. The customer is always right, blah blah mother ducking blah. She also mentions multiple times how she has come to the restaurant for years, therefore they should make an exception for her. At the end of her rant, my manager, a tall, white, middle-aged man who's usually very trusted by Karens, asks to see the coupon she brought in. He did not hesitate at all to point out the dine-in only print written on the coupon, and proceeds to explain to her the exact same thing I had previously explained to her 16 times. At this point Karen is so enraged I can clearly remember seeing smoke shoot out of her nostrils while the vein in her forehead was about to erupt. Finally, and begrudgingly, accepting that the coupon could not be used, she hits us with the, fine, I guess I'll just pay for it. Now it is at this point I will remind you that her bill was fairly large. I'm also going to point out that this was a Boston pizza, which is notorious for overpricing food. So my manager walks away, and I tell Karen her total and ask how she is paying. She looked at me with the most evil stare I've ever seen in my life as she began screaming about how expensive it was. She insisted I had the order wrong because there is no way it could be that much, which led to me reading out her entire order and listing the price for each dish, while Karen sat there trying to do math in her stupid little brain. After another 5 minutes or so of haggling with her about the price, and getting screamed at the whole time, Karen finally decided she had had enough, and screams, "You know what? I don't even want the food anymore, and you just lost a customer," before stomping out. Never have I felt the amount of satisfaction as I did when I waved goodbye to her with the biggest ducking smile on my face. The next story is titled They Never Stay Just One Night. When I was 19 I rented a single-bedroom house by myself. I was working 50 to 60 hours as a shift lead for a Tex-Mex place to afford it. It was my place and I was so happy to have it. Going from a house with 5 siblings where I never had my own room to a house all by myself was amazing. Of course, with all good things come the load of people who want in on it too. Today's tale is about Megan. Fake name. Megan was my 20-yo coworker who was kicked out of her parents' house. She showed up at work crying on a day I wasn't there. The shift lead on duty called me and asked if I could take her for the night while she figured things out. So I go get her, take her back to her parents' house to get a few things, which ended up filling up my car, then brought her home. A few things about Megan. She is both physically and mentally unstable. She spent a few days in mental institutes and has been hospitalized several times due to what was later diagnosed as lupus, but that diagnosis wasn't until almost a year after she lived with me. So a day or two after she moved in, she gets a call from the person she gave her cat to the year prior. The cat was sick and the person said Megan needed to either get the cat or they would have it put down. So we got the cat. It was obviously neglected and covered in fleas. Megan said she would never trust anyone with the cat again. I told her when we brought her home she would have to live in the garage. I had a cat with FIV, so her immune system is really weak and I didn't want to risk her getting sick. Well, while I was at work, Megan let the cat in and sent me pictures stated, "See, they get along fine." I talked about taking my cat to the vet to make sure she was handling it okay, and every time I brought it up Megan would say, "Perfect, and you can take my cat too." No. I'm not paying to have your cat looked at. Her cat was a nightmare and peed on everything. After a few weeks, when it was obvious Megan hadn't found her own place, I told her we needed some kind of formal agreement. So we wrote up a month-to-month lease for her. I should have kicked her out, but I'm a pushover and between her mental and physical health I felt trapped. She panicked at almost any form of confrontation. I was worried I would kick her out and she would kill herself. Which she almost did. I came home one day and all her pills were lined up on the table and she was missing. She was so close to doing it, but called the hotline and checked herself into the hospital instead. When she wasn't in the hospital we had fallen into a routine. She worked mornings, I worked nights. She didn't have a car. So, I would get up at 7:30 a.m. Wake her up. Go defrost the car. Come back in to wake her up again, not so nicely the second time, take her to work. Go home. Go back to sleep. Wake up for my 2 p.m. shift. Work until midnight. Come home. Stay up until 2 to 3 a.m. for a moment to myself. Wash, rinse, repeat. I was exhausted and felt like I had no life. Taking care of Megan was my life. She on the other hand would go out while I was at work, bring God knows how many guys back, hit on guys I brought home. The one time I had a guy spend the night, she tried to crap talk me to him saying, "You can spend the night because Op will make sure you wake up in the morning." Just a heads up, she can be a idiot about it, like excuse me. You are a grown-ass woman living on my couch who can't get herself up for work. I'm sorry, I'm not going to hold your hand and help ease you up every morning. After 4 months, the final straw was when I caught her cat peeing on a corset that belonged to my sister who had just passed away. I had already warned her that if she didn't do something about her cat peeing on all my things it would have to go. So I sent her a text saying, "I'm sorry, but your cat can't stay here. I told you have to do something about her accidents and you haven't. She just ruined something that belonged to my sister. I also need to remind you that you being here was supposed to be temporary." That's all I said. I never told her she had to leave that second. But she called her mom and they came and gathered all her stuff and she left that night. She quit work the next day and told everyone I threw her out on the street. No one believed her. When I met my now husband and got pregnant, she tried to message me like nothing happened and be my friend. I don't understand why several people thought my pregnancy was the time to reconnect. If I didn't want to be around you when it was just me, why the hell would I want you around my kid? The next story is titled Karen Tries to Kick Out My Uncle Out of His House. Little background. My uncle, 52Y, loves photography and own and run a studio from his house. The house is a 2-story building, with the studio on the ground floor and a 2-bedroom apartment on the first floor. He lives with his wife and daughter. Currently his business has taken a blow, due to pandemic and as well as the new Gen phone. Everybody has a camera nowadays, so who needs a photographer? Still, my uncle earns enough to get by for his family. He is a very sweet guy and even though money is short, he has made a lot of friends in the community. He is one of the 3 children of my grandparents. My mother, 54Y, the eldest and the youngest sister, 48Y, who is the entitled Karen of this story. The youngest sister has always been the golden child to my grandparents and has been spoilt to the core. From the childhood she gets everything she wants. My uncle wanted to study law, but my grandparents spend all the funds for his college for Karen's marriage. In my country, it is expected that the male child of the family will take care of his parents while the female child goes to her husband's family. Story. Even though my grandparents stayed with my uncle, my grandpa kept sending money, each month to Karen, which she spends of clothes and makeup, only keeping some amount for himself just for food, which he refused to share with my uncle and his wife and daughter. The house belonged to my grandmother. When she died in 2018, she gave the house to my uncle and some money to my mother and my aunt. And my aunt convinced my grandpa to come live with her. On the pretext of caring for him, she wanted to mooch off my grandpa's pension amount. My uncle, being a smart butt, made my grandpa sign an affidavit that he is willingly going to his own daughter's house and is not kicked out. After that my uncle and my mother went no contact with their sister and father. After a few months, suddenly one morning, my uncle is startled by continuous loud banging at the door. He went to the window to check to find Karen, who was demanding to be let in, screaming on top of the lungs that this is her house. I guess she was on crack or something. My uncle laughed and told her to duck off. So, she called the cops. The cops, who was also a friend of my uncle, came and basically laughed at her and told her to shut up and was removed from the property. After a few days, my aunt sent an eviction notice to my uncle. There is an attached notice which said that in 2015, 3 years before her death, my grandmother had signed a will to give away the house to my aunt. And hence she is now the owner. If evicted, this would mean that my uncle and his family will not only lose their home but also their business. After reading the notice multiple times, he noticed the date on which the will was signed, and he realized something which made him angry. As I had said earlier, even though my uncle had less money, he had lots of friends. He contacted his friend at local hospital to get data of my grandmother's medical history and records for 2015. After receiving the documents, my uncle hired a lawyer, and sent a new notice to my aunt, basically warning her that the will she has sent is a forged document and if she pursues with the same, he will take legal action against her and send her to jail. You see my friends, my grandmother couldn't have signed the will on the said date as during that whole week, she had been admitted in the local hospital for chest pain and was heavily sedated and had been barely awake. Karen didn't agree to my uncle's demands, and now she'll do time in prison. The next story is titled CB Makes My First and Last Yard Sale Memorable. This little goodie is from about 10 years ago. The choosing part is up to interpretation, but it's not about digital art or Bitcoin. We were pretty poor but had a ton of junk. I usually just give stuff away if I don't want it, but friends suggested we have a yard sale. Another couple also gave us stuff to sell, and we decided that we would use the profits to go out and have a fancy dinner with cocktails and everything. One of the things the other couple wanted to sell was a hideous life-size cat figure. It was actually made with real fur and I believe real teeth. It had glass eyes. I have no idea why they had this thing, they were sort of gothic at one time, so maybe they thought it was cool at some point. They had priced this atrocity at $10. Everyone else had to work that morning, so they helped me set up and left me to sell stuff. CB comes along and loves this cat thing. Truthfully, it had been a conversational hit all day, but she really wanted it. She asked if I could discount at all. I said sure, how about $7? She was thinking $2. I said that I couldn't really because it was someone else's and they had given me the price. She tells me that she has no money, and that she's disabled and can't afford to eat, etc. I explain again why I can't just give it to her for $2. She comes back an hour later, picks up a bunch stuff and asks for a discount. I say sure and heavily discount the stuff. The weird thing is that it comes to more than the $7 I wanted for the cat. She then says she will only buy that stuff if I give her the cat outright. By this point, I'm having fun with the situation, and say no. She accuses me of being selfish among other things. Not long after that she shows up with friends, who look like the cast of Deliverance. They say they're all going to buy stuff but only if I give her the cat first. Even my neighbors are laughing at the insanity at this point. They then say I'm cruel to make a disabled person walk over so many times. I figured this was it. Not long after this my friends call to see how things are going. I give them an update on how much money and tell them the tale about the cat. It turned out they were so thrilled with our daily profit, they would be willing to let the cat go for the $2 offer if Crazy comes knocking again. And so she did, since this has been here all day. "Can I have it now?" I tell her she can have it for $2. She responds, "Not for free? I've walked over here 5 times." She eventually pays the $2 and walks off. Approximately 2 hours later, my friends arrive. Most of the stuff had sold, so they grabbed a few things and we headed to their car a couple of blocks away. On the way, we pass the lady. She's having a giant yard sale with her weird friends. Right in the middle of the table is the creepy cat with a $15 price tag. I never had another yard sale. With the lowballers and people trying to steal, I've gone back to just giving stuff away. The next story is titled Moving Boxes CB. I ended up with about 75 assorted size moving boxes in good enough condition to resell. I assigned them a price range with wardrobe boxes being highest at $8 and the medium boxes being lowest at $1.50 each. Free small boxes and free, used wrapping paper. These were super good prices in this area. I was hoping to make around $150 back after the move. I put my neighborhood and prices in the post and added this was for people looking to buy 10 or more boxes. Pick up only. I had a lot of interest and sold them all to 4 different people, 2 of whom came back a second time. One woman asked where I was located in. I said no, I'm in less than greater than. She asked if I could deliver to her home an hour away and I said no. She said okay, well I'm leaving for work now, can we meet at my job in less than greater than tonight? I said no, I don't think so. I wished her well. Then she sweetened the deal, she said she would pay more than $1.50. She'd pay me $3 if I'd get the boxes to her tonight. I was kinda pressed by her negotiation, and asked if she was going to use cash or Venmo. She said she'd Cash App me. I don't have that one I'm afraid. Good luck. She tells me just to download it, load up my vehicle, drive 45 minutes away, let her take the one she wants and I'll make double the money for my trouble. I said, okay, so you want 10 medium boxes for $3 each? I'm sitting here like, trying to figure out if this is remotely worth it. She's desperate. Would this be a good deed or? Excuse me, no? That's $3 total. For as many boxes as you can bring me. We are moving in a hurry, please? I told her someone else was already coming by for them and stopped responding. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.